Everybody, thank you very much tonight for coming back to the PigSty. Tonight we have been joined by Objectively Dan. I'm sure everybody knows of Objectively Dan from SEA Truth Wanted and all of them shows that we all watched over a long period of time. So Dan, for the people who don't know who you are, if you just want to give a wee introduction to yourself.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, again, I'm Objectively Dan. I am the sole host of the atheist community of Austin's show, Truth Wanted. It's a call-in show. If you're familiar with the Atheist Experience, we're under the same network. We produce a couple of different shows, and mine is one of them. I do live every Fridays. The difference between, my show and some of the others is we're pretty broad. We talk about a lot of different stuff. We don't just talk Christianity. We talk about Bigfoot, aliens, ghosts, everything under the sun. And I also get a guest every single week on my show. Usually it's a new guest. So, if you're interested in meeting people from different communities, and they're not always atheists either, by the way. We get some Christians. I've had Buddhists on, and I'm hoping next year to get some real believers in some other stuff as well. So, check it out if you haven't already.
Yeah, link to his YouTube channel is in the description. I didn't add the Twitch. You're starting to do a lot more on Twitch now, Dan, yeah?
Yeah, so outside of that, I am supposed to be getting a computer in the mail here, and I want to do some more Twitch streaming stuff. I want to do some kind of gaming stuff, but also maybe some responses to the news. I recently started a thing on QAnon, and I want to try to talk about that more as that develops. So yeah, lots of different stuff in mind.
What we usually do here is, as I said before the stream, man, it's very open and it's more about what you and who you are, So the first question I usually go with people is, what brought you to the internet? Like, you've jumped on to Truth Wanted, so you've had a nice wee step up. And was you in Austin? Did you move to Austin to do that? Or?
Yeah, well, I started the show before I was in Austin. I actually lived in Waco, Texas. I drove an hour and a half every week to go to Austin just to do the show because I was really passionate about trying to get it started, and I think it's kind of paid off so far. Most people know me from a video I was in with Anthony Magnabosco. I was a Christian on a college campus when he talked to me. And eventually I found my way to the atheism world and started doing more stuff with that, getting involved with the ACA and getting on channels like this. So it's been quite an interesting journey since then.
No, I did not know that. Anthony Magnabosco, for anyone who doesn't know, does the street epistemology, interviews people back and forth and has a conversation and sort of leads them down a route of logical thinking and stuff like that. Did not know that. That's and you were a Christian?
On his channel.
Did that trick a switch or send you down a route? Would you say the street epistemology worked?
I would say that conversation was probably a pretty important step in my deconversion process. I definitely don't attribute the entirety of my faith crashing down from one 30-minute conversation, as I don't think anybody should.
No.
I think if you change your mind completely after one conversation, I would question how strong you hold your beliefs in the first place. But I was definitely a pretty strong believer. I was a Christian college leader at the time, and so it took a little bit, but I think that conversation played a role for sure.
And the Christianity, were you sort of, as you were saying, you were a leader, something you were brought up in? You were raised in a Christian family then, I assume, and you've got a Christian background like most of the atheists in the American community, started off as a Christian. And did you go through any deism or anything like that, or pantheism, or did you just...
So I grew up in a Methodist church, and then I started going to a Baptist church in my high school years, and then when I got to college, I was part of a non-denominational group. So I've been a part of some different denominations. I went through kind of a deist sort of, I almost even call it Christian atheist phase, really. For a while, it was kind of a sliding scale until it finally was just I just can't justify anything anymore,
it would be very rare that I would talk to anyone that jumps straight to that. I usually find when you're talking to people, the humanity that we have and the questions, it does take time and you have to think about it and move your way through. Personally, I was something similar. It was leaving Christianity, full-blown freaking goth and all that with anti-theism. We hated what was done to us, and then we the energy and spiritualism, and then you're just sort of landing on agnostic, atheist, and sort of around that, and you find yourself. I also find that with age, we get a wee bit more wisdom and a wee bit more knowledge. We think more about these things, and I don't as where I stand now, I wouldn't have been here with everything that came before. It does take time.
Yeah, for sure. I think for me too, it was a process because I didn't really know anybody in these communities. Everything I was learning was from books and research online. And until I got hooked up with the atheist community of Austin, it was just kind of me kind of figuring this stuff out for a while. And that can be troublesome, and it's so much easier to talk about this stuff when I could talk to somebody like you or any other person that follows me on Twitter, who already thinks kind of the same way I do, but I didn't have that for a long time. So that's something to consider too when, we're talking about people's journeys with this stuff.
Quentin in the chat, Ginger Nation in the chat, to use him as an example. Sorry, Quentin was a Christian for a very short period of time, and we had a conversation about it. And whenever he went into it, I was like, no, you're not. No, you're not. And eventually come out of it, and he's finding himself now. And it does, you have to think about these things, and especially being on your own with having nothing and growing up in Texas and stuff like that. Having someone that you can talk to about it. As I said to him earlier about labels, trying to put yourself in a label. At the minute, he's using the Buddhism label. And, if someone, he says he's also a humanist, and I'm like, yeah, well, I'm a wee bit of a stoic. We're all a wee bit of a humanist, We also think logically. Then there's the wee bit of this, that, and the other. I hate labels for that exact reason that you just stated, was the ability to talk to someone and ask them a question directly on what they think of something, rather than going, here's a label, I'm going to stick it on your forehead, and that's who you are.
Right. And that's a great advantage of street epistemology, which is why, I'm such an advocate for, at least one of the reasons why is, we're not starting with the assumption of, oh, you're a Christian, so you believe X, Y, and Z, or, oh, you're an atheist, you think X, Y, and Z, oh, you're a Buddhist, you think X, Y, and Z. We're just starting with, what do you believe? You tell me in your own words, and how did you come to that conclusion in your own words? And let's see where we can go from there, because one of the biggest hindrances we have in these conversations are the presumptions that we put upon other people. I get callers from, I've had callers use 100 different labels how they describe themselves and stuff. And, if I put my presumptions to that caller before they even tell me what they believe and why they use that label for it, then I'm not going to get anywhere with that person. So it's definitely a tool in the toolbox to consider, thinking like, oh, don't use labels at all. Like just,
when I first came to the community, everybody knows, long ass story, not going into it. The point of it is, the name that I chose for exactly what it was I couldn't find a label, I couldn't find this. It was math, magic, pagan, math, science, magic shit I don't understand, and pagan because I'm not a Christian. As simple as that. Because everybody insists upon labels. I try and stay away. I enjoy philosophy and I enjoy the understanding of it, but I stay away from the philosophical conversations because of that reason, because it has to be labelized. It has to be, you are this, what is it? A methodological naturalist is probably the closest thing that, if you wanted to put a philosophical label on me, but
sure,
it's so hard to pin down exactly what each person is. So it's good that you have a channel like that, as you say, to have people on who aren't Christian or who are Christian as well, and back and forth, and all different varieties. That's what we try to do here as well, and everybody from every different point of view. The wider the base, the better the actual representation of the human species.
Absolutely, I agree with that.
Right, lost my trail of thought now because I went in a wee bit of a rant there. Like. So, as you say, man, you're going more Twitch and gaming. Will you be discussing things while you're gaming? I see a lot of people actually just chatting, some people like Matt as well, and actually having the conversations going on Twitch. It gives them more of a personal basis because it's a smaller view. Like, I'm sure when you have Truth Wanted, it's 3 figures watching. It's very hard to watch the chat, and there's an awful lot going on. Even at that stage with the SEA and having producers, it's still an awful lot to be going on, to be watching everything to come across like that. The Twitch gives you a smaller base to deal with, more.
Yeah, like I think I probably will be doing more of that. From what I've done so far, it's just been kind of experimenting with it to see what I can do. I can't imagine I won't go into stuff that I talk about on the show, and stuff while I'm doing while I'm gaming and stuff like that. But I think a reason why I want to do it is just because well, a couple of reasons. One, I don't, everything I do with the ACA is volunteer work. I don't personally receive any cash from doing that, and that's totally fine. That's the way that it was intended to be. It'd be cool to get a little something back to all the work that I put into Truth Wanted and all the work I do into activism, and Twitch seems like a platform to do that. But it also gives me a chance to kind of interact with the people who really want to know me a bit more on a personal level, who want to kind of support everything that I'm doing personally as a human being. Because like I said, I work full time, and everything, most of my free time is dedicated to doing Truth Wanted or interviews like this and stuff like that. So it's just a cool way to kind of give back to the community, say, hey, here's more content from me that you can check in with. So
no, I totally understand that, man. Even though I only stream maybe once or twice a week, anybody here that knows, I'm helping at the minute. There's a lot of people in the community that we're trying to build up from smaller channels, 30 and 40. Like, I spent, I think it was 3 hours last night watching Carlton Wilson. Carlton Wilson is one of the more intelligent people you will ever meet on the fucking internet. He is well thought out. He was a Christian up to 2009. His partner is a Christian still, and they went through Cupcake's new video last night, and the comedy, the back and forth. He's only got 50 subscribers, so we try to help people like that. And I'm doing OBS classes and showing people how to do that and things like that. And I totally understand where you're coming from. Other than spending time with my daughter on the weekends, most of my free time afterwards is, we try and help each other here. We have a community that we're all trying to build up, and as one grows, we all grow.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
How you finding Twitch? Are you enjoying it?
OBS is I think the greatest evidence we actually have for Satan, in my opinion. But
do you have many audio problems?
I would have audio problems if I can get the streams to work. Yeah, absolutely. But even then, sometimes, I have audio problems. I've had all the different problems. But I'm still figuring it out, still trying to get it under my belt. I'll add you to
the wee group.
Yeah. I just I've always been a fan of watching people stream and doing stuff when it came to like video games and stuff. That's just kind of another interest I have. So it's like, I could kind of do both. Matt's been doing that for a while. Like, hey, I'll see if I can kind of get in there too. I don't know how many people want to watch me play Animal Crossing and talk about that, but I'll do it.
Animal Crossing and the meaning of life.
Exactly.
Squeezed into
epistemology and Animal Crossing,
Well, as you say, mentioning Matt and stuff there, like, we're not going to make a comparison here. I think all the shows, I started off enjoying Atheist Experience more. I now prefer to watch Talk Heathen more. You chop and change between the shows and that like that. But what do you see that makes you stand out using that ACA umbrella between, say, for them 3 shows, comparing the 2 big ones and yourself? Is there anything that would make you, other than the different guests, stand out more so than them?
So, there's a couple things when I think about that question. I actually started Truth Wanted. This was my project from the very beginning. Matt is, while he's known for his being on Atheist Experience has been on before him as a concept. So I get to, I have, I'm also a producer role on Truth Wanted. I make a lot of the executive decisions as to how we're kind of doing stuff. So, not every host is that either. And so it's really a project that I have a lot of control over, that I get to kind of experiment with and see what works and what doesn't. And so I like that. And also, I'm pretty much the only show where I am consistently on every single week. You can count the number of times that I haven't been on, and it was just one time, and we did that this year just to see what it was like. For the past 2 years, it's always been me, which you don't see with the other shows. Usually we have rotating hosts because, again, almost everybody that works at the ACA is a volunteer, and it's all volunteer projects that get a lot of the work needed done. So I don't know why it's always just been me. I guess because it's just, I don't know, it just kind of started that way and just kind of kept going, although I'm trying to hand some of the reins off to fellow co-host Puck. If you guys have watched Truth Wanted, seen that, he has been volunteering with making Truth Wanted happen for a long time. And I was like, well, it can't just be me all the time. Like, eventually I am going to have to need somebody to take over the reins every once in a while. So Puck's been doing that a little bit here and there. And it's been fun to kind of show the world that, hey, here's another way of how we can do a call-in show that could be way different from the other ones. So
that's one thing I'm finding now is there seems to be an uptake in the call-in shows. It's something that people want to watch. It gives the ability to reach out to the public, because you find that like, you know, we've got what, maybe 19 people watching here now. There's not every one of them's in the chat. They don't want to talk because it gives them a link to back, and they're like, oh no, they could figure out my email and this, that, and the other. A phone call is just a phone call. You have nothing to go by except the Jimmy Joe name that I give you, and they can even call from the internet for free. So there is no, with a VPN, there's no way of tracing. It gives people that anonymity that they can separate themselves from their actual worrying about, fuck, I'm going to get found out, and it gives them the ability to talk and be more honest. Do you find that?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. Yeah, like obviously a lot of people that call in aren't using their real names. You know, most of the content creators I work with aren't using their real names. Like, I mean, it's a big issue in our community. You know, this may come as a surprise to you, but my first name isn't actually objectively. You know, that's the joke I always say. But point is, like, yeah, I think people are more honest on this stuff, especially when they can't be tracked down to it. And the other thing is, you know, it's not just one part of the world that is thinking this way. Obviously, you know, we're at two different parts of the world, but I get calls every week from Norway. I've got calls from the Bahamas. I've got calls from South America, Australia. I mean, every continent so far, I think I've gotten one from. So it's like, it's cool to see so many people just around the world are not only watching the show, but also like thinking kind of in similar ways about, you know, the ideas that we discuss.
Yeah, it's good to see, man. We totally understand where you're coming from. We have people in the community here from as far as Australia. Remember Sammy Jenkins, I would consider one of my very close friends, lives in Australia. And then my own girlfriend lives in Georgia at the minute. And we've people right across like Erin and California. And we pretty much cover the whole world in what we have here. And it's nice to see that, because you do get different experiences, different points of view. And like with your channel and what we're trying to do here with the community is connect the dots. You know, and I find with shows and call-in shows like that, because of the because of the anonymity between...
Hopefully not the animosity, although that does happen
sometimes. You know, it gives us this ability to join together. What I find is the ACA is a wonderful thing, you know, and every single person I could say in the community, especially everybody watching the chat now, has watched some sort of an ACA show. One of them. Everybody watches one or is involved in one. The problem that I find with something like that is it's based in fucking Austin. It's based in Texas. And even though we all watch it, there's 2,000 people in the chat some of these times. You can't make that connection. I'll pop into the chat every now and again and say hi, and the only people that say it back is the people who recognize my name, because we've built a connection on a smaller channel or built a connection somewhere else. And I feel that the ACA, not that it's all in them, but just using them as an example, there's an awful lot of organizations across America and across the world that have just become closed. You know, they are their own organization, and that's what they do.
Yeah.
And would you like to join in with this? Oh no, we're doing this thing that weekend. You know, we need to connect these bigger organizations, and having people like yourself on, and having people, you know, that have that, you know, wee bit in that we can drag in and drag the bigger organization in and try and make it one whole community. At the minute, we're just an internet community. We don't have really real power to do anything. But if we can physically do something and make connections in real life, not only do we have friends on the internet, then we will have friends that we can go and have a coffee with. A lot of us, and especially in America, are alone in the situations that we're in. You know, stuck in the Bible Belt, stuck around with maybe one person who's a Christian that understands you, that you're lucky to go for coffee with.
Absolutely.
Especially in the South in America, atheism is just ostracized, and you know, you're not wanted.
Yeah, you're telling me. Yeah, I mean, I think the greatest strength that the ACA has is, you know, as far as atheist media organizations, I mean, like, we are the premier organization. I mean, they've just been producing content for, I mean, almost as long as I've been alive. You know, like, it's like, it's so cool to be a part of an organization that is not just about Austin. I don't know, I haven't really met any of the people that started the ACA, but I don't know if they'd ever expect that it would go outside of Austin and become a worldwide community. But that's what it really is. And it's gotten people, you know, back when the building was actually open, every single week we'd have somebody from out of state, if not out of country, you know, coming to see what this little building that we have, this little house that we turned into a studio, is all about, and you know, how it's convinced thousands of people to change their minds about their beliefs. You know, we'll never know exactly how many people, but I can tell you we get emails every single week, just from people who are watching the different shows, just thanking us for what we're doing and stuff. And I'm very proud to be a part of an organization that does so much. So
yeah, something that if I was going, I would definitely time is the bats. I'd love to go down.
Yeah, really cool. I hope things open up relatively soon, so that we can do all that stuff again. But for now, we're just all doing stuff from our homes and apartments, and it seems to be working out okay so far.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. How have you been finding the COVID? You've been doing the shows from the house then, doing them from here with your cats. You're cheating with the cats, all right? We all know that on YouTube, if you put a cat on screen, your views go up by 10%. You're cheating.
Absolutely.
You are cheating.
I mean, look, when you know, when things started to lock down, things were getting kind of crazy. But the ACA has been very generous. The lighting that I'm using, the mic stand, and even this tablet right here. Well, this was the same tablet that we used in studio. The only thing that was mine that I'm using right now is this mic, because I already had it before for other stuff. But like, you know, they've been able to purchase equipment for us to do stuff at home, and not just myself, but the other hosts. And we figured out a way where we can actually do these shows remotely anytime we want now that, you know, at least the one good thing about this virus is it's given us the training to figure out how to do a show remotely in case we need to, in case a host can't make it to the studio for some reason or another. So when things go back to normal, we actually have a bit more experience with this stuff. So yeah, it was kind of a curveball, but we managed to keep doing it. We realized, hey, this is probably going to last a lot longer than we think, so we got to just keep going with the shows, and you know, give people something to watch while they're stuck at home. So yeah, we figured it out, I think.
No, it's definitely something I've been doing that whenever I was furloughed. I was furloughed for about 8 or 9 months, and I had a rough idea of OBS, and I could stream for myself and things like that. With being furloughed and being off all day, Critical Cripple, one of the linchpins of the community, somebody that you'd be lost without, started doing a quiz every day at 1 o'clock, our time, 8 o'clock in the morning for people in America, to give everybody that was furloughed and everybody that was off work something to do and something to rally around. And you know, amazing show, and we all had great fun, and it brought everyone together. Like, and then from that and helping out with that, other people can't come in. I've now learned to produce for other people. All I need is your stream key. That's it. Just give me your stream key and I'll sort fucking everything for you. I've learned on OBS how to make overlays, and just just take that and hit a double click and it'll work. And it's nice to have that drive as well, you know, because whenever you're sitting at work and everybody's doing everything for you, I bet you've had an awful lot more fun now fucking about with this shit. As annoying as it is, you know, you have to say that you take that little bit of joy of the accomplishment over it.
Yeah, like, you know, it's cool because everybody at the ACA has something to contribute. You know, we have people that work on the tech side. We have people that, you know, when I first started, I was call screening and stuff, and we have lots of people call screen. And it's so that we can have hosts who are like myself, who may have more to do with having the right words tech and saying the right thing at the right time. But, you know, I may not know how to work call-in studio or something. Of course, now I know how to work call-in studio. But the point is, you know, now the advantage of working with so many awesome people is that, yeah, we've actually been able to compartmentalize a lot more than most really atheist organizations, or even like a lot of nonprofits are able to do, just because we have so many passionate people that want to help out with the projects that we're doing. Yeah, it's, of course, like I said, been different to adapt at home and try to mess with stuff myself. But even if I ever have questions, I just have a short list of people I can ask, say like, hey, do you know how to do this? Or can you show me somebody that knows how to do this?
If you can't help me, point me in the fucking right direction.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to have that, you know, and you're lucky enough with the ACA that it has brought people together, you know, physically. Like, you actually, you would live in Austin now, yeah? You know?
I actually, you know, I asked my work to see if I could move to a position in Austin so that I could continue to do more work in Austin for the ACA. You know, I love working with them. I love doing stuff for the organization, and I hope I can keep doing it for as long as they let me. So
Unfortunately, though, we all can't fucking move to Austin.
yeah, right. Yeah, I know.
I was trying.
I know, man.
Excuse me. I was trying to convince people there's an island just off the coast of Ireland, and it's 1.2 million, 30 acres. You know, we can all get a couple of 100,000 together. We'll just move there. It's all just move
right.
there.
But hey, we need people in other places of the world, because if we all lived in Austin, then what's the point? You know, it's like, I mean, yeah, we get our own little utopia, but you know, there's always going to be somebody in a small town that doesn't have that community that needs to talk to people, and you could be that person for them. That's what I felt like I was when I was still living in my town before I moved to Austin. I was like, well, at least I can help the other people here, and I had some of those conversations. So you know,
I'm more afraid of moving to the island and man to take it over. Mama Atheist in the chat, the girlfriend. That's what's probably going to happen. We would move there and she would just take over, and we don't know. Out of all the calls that you've had over all the shows, is there one that stands out in your mind? Is there one that
for good reasons or bad reasons?
I was just about to say for a good reason, or that guy's fucked up.
I think the most fucked up call I've had is a guy that didn't think the COVID virus existed. That was really dumb. Now, this was earlier in the year, but it was far enough into it to be like, you shouldn't talk up like this. And it was really dumb reasons too. But I've had great calls. I mean, it's like, I had a call where I gave somebody advice on how to talk to his wife about the whole atheist thing, you know, and a couple months later he called back with his wife and said, hey, we're both atheists now, you know. And it's just like little stuff like that where when I get feedback from like, hey, because sometimes I may just be pissing into the wind, you know. I don't know if they're listening, I don't know if they're taking what I say seriously, or even if what I'm saying is good, but then that little feedback I get sometimes where it's like, hey, I use this to talk to somebody and I got something out of that conversation, or I'll get something to say, hey, you changed my mind about this, and I may not have been talking to them, they may have just been a viewer, and I'll get a message with it. So that happens every once in a while with different topics, and it's always nice to get all those kinds of calls. I don't know if I could pick one favorite. I think it's always just
no, but that concept in itself, I can totally understand that. Like, I don't get me wrong, man. I'm only fucking what 911 subscribers. You know, I haven't even hit the 1K yet, but I still have a screenshot saved in my folder under fucking favorites, which is the very first comment of that nature that I got. It was from OldMan Dan, who has he's now Patreon as well, and actually contributes towards the channel. And thank you to all the Patreons, up to like 11 or 12 now. Ox, I'm looking at you. Fucking, and you know, a few people have joined. Even my mother contributes to the channel now, and my mother would be what I would consider, as you said earlier, an atheist Christian. We've had this long conversation, and she's just a Christian because she's afraid of going to hell, but she's now going to shout at me tomorrow and give me a slap, so we're going to move on. But you know, shout out to the Patreons and everyone that does help, and having that the comment from OldMan Dan, you know, I don't want to go into whatever it was a big long fucking comment, but it was really nice to get some feedback like that. It really does feel, because as anyone who closely knows me, you know, you put so much into the community and you do so goddamn much. And as you say, you know, doing the Twitch and trying to get some feedback there, it's nice every now and again to get a thank you. It's nice every now and again for someone to come out and say, you know, what you're doing is worthwhile and it's made a change in my life. Because that's what we do. At the end of the day, we're aiming for just that one. Any more than one.
It is kind of crazy because, you know, I remember watching Atheist Experience myself and thinking, oh, wow, these guys just sit in front of a microphone and then they go home and then just do whatever. But, you know, like, lots of people are so involved, and, you know, on top of the local events that we do, which we're not doing right now, unfortunately, but like, you know, we've got all kinds of production meetings. We've got meetings about budgets. We've got meetings about, you know, like who's going to be doing this, who's going to be doing what. It's like lots of little parts go into making this thing happen. And I know that's true for other content creators like yourself as well. It's like, you know, we can't, if we showed everybody exactly what we were doing, nobody would care. Nobody would want to watch it because it's a lot of boring stuff sometimes.
Yeah, this is why, as I said, we had to create a separate Twitter group, because this, Manda, again, is one of the people. Manda and Dave and me is who I would consider this channel to be. The community that we have here and that we refer to as the PigSty. We've got the Pigbot and stuff like that there. But between the three of us, there's so much that you know, we work as a fantastic team. And if we didn't have each other to lean on, you know, Dave does all technical stuff. Man is fantastic at helping people and talking to people and stuff like that. And I'm a mouthy fucker that just, I get away with it because I've been a mouthy fucker from the start. So everybody just expects me to speak the truth and do what I do. And we help out. And it really boils down to the humanist nature. You know, everybody has their labels and things like that. But if at your ground core, in my opinion, if you're not what would be a humanist, like I've had conversations with Christians, and you're very Christian-like. Well, what's a Christian-like person? They're humanist points. You know, looking after your neighbour and feed the guy up the road because he's broke. Help out that person. You have a spare 20 quid and that guy's not got fucking fuel to get to work. Give him 20 quid. You know, we've had people out with rent in the community. Amanda was unwell and we aimed for $100 worth of gifts to make her feel better after her major operation. We let it run for a week. We'd $400 in 2 days. That woman got fucking spoilt, you know. And it's the ability to help each other around. There, I'm just seeing GEOSAM in the chat. Geo, just his channel's about GIMP, the animation stuff, you know, GIMP, and that's what Geo does, right? It's nothing to do with the atheist community. It's nothing to do with the skeptic community. That's what he does, is GIMP. He gives people tips. He makes intros for people. Helped out Rage and helped out myself and a few other people. But he chipped together all these bits of computers that he had lying around the house. And he put money to it himself. And he sent it to somebody who had 20 subscribers because they really wanted to do something. And they really are, and they're doing well and working up through it. And he took all his old bits and, as I say, put money to it, put it together, posted it out, and sent it to this guy. Just because he had them sitting on a shelf. And somebody was in need. And it boils down to the humanist and helping out your fellow human.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, like, you know, Truth Wanted itself couldn't exist with the level of infrastructure we even have if it wasn't for some of our bigger shows like Talk Heathen and Atheist Experience. But, you know, like all the money goes around for all of our different projects because we all believe in them equally. And we also help the people who make this stuff. When we were in the building, you know, we would have a fridge where if you put food in that fridge, that food is going to be for anybody.
Oh, no,
anybody that walks.
No, I don't like that rule.
Anybody that walks into the building, anybody that wants to come visit, they want a beer, they got it in the fridge. Like that was like kind of our philosophy. It was just like everybody is welcome, and we've been doing a little bit of that. We've actually been able to pay for Grubhub for our guests that come onto our show. Some people don't realize that that's part of where some of that money goes, because hey, like usually when you come in the studio you get a meal out of it, so you know we're trying to make up for that now while we can't all be together. So little stuff like that, that's what helps.
But I am very particular in how I make a sandwich, and if you fucking steal my sandwich and
then put it in your own fridge, you know. But if it's gonna go in the ACA fridge, that's for everybody.
No, but it is that concept, you know, and it's that idea of trying to reach out, and something that I refer back to earlier, the good work that the ACA does, the Bat Cruise and bringing people together, and you know, when you get super chats and anything like that, that's not going into your pocket. That's going into equipment. That's going in to support another show to fill another time slot, to where the point that the ACA could be going 24 hours a day. You know, it's all aiming towards that, as you say, going towards food for the guests and going towards things for the audience and stuff like that. And interaction and everything together. None of that goes into the pocket of the actual people doing it. It all goes into the actual system. It goes back into the whole thing overall. And if we can take that and just give me 1 second, someone's being a little disrespectful in the chat. And if we can take that concept that the ACA has, because the ACA has the appeal for the entire world, so it has a world pool, so to speak, of money coming into it, and a world pool of support coming into it. If we can take that and extend that out from, you know, let's make Texas the atheist hub of America.
Austin, Texas, baby, that atheist city. That's what we're gonna make it. So.
How is the city itself, though? It is very multicultural. Do you find that it's very democratic and liberal? And, you know, can you walk up the street? I know that Amanda couldn't walk up the street in Georgia wearing a "I'm an atheist, go fuck all Christians" or something like that. You know, it's...
I mean, you know, you're probably going to get looks if you wear a shirt like that here, but, you know, you're not going to get the same level of response that you would anywhere else in Texas, right?
I'm taking it to an extreme.
Yeah. I mean, Austin is definitely the most liberal city in the state, for sure. But it's a liberal bastion in a sea of red. You know, everywhere else in Texas, if you go 45 minutes to an hour outside of this place, you know, it's gonna be just like the rest of the South, pretty much, in terms of conservativeness. We're not quite California levels of liberal either, but it's just generally just more secular, just more open, I guess, in general. So it's a cool place to be. Yeah.
I appreciate the wordage that you used there. You know, you didn't say it's a more atheist place, it's more secular. You know, it's what we're trying to do. As we all have come together under the atheist umbrella and coming together because we've been coming out of religion, or it's something that's interesting us and stuff like that. At our ground core, and something that Manda pushes specifically in her channel, is living critically, actually thinking logically, and going down the secular route. You know, if we could all, personally, if I could just take the atheist label and throw it away and just put secular on it, or, you know, something like that. It's a more of a descriptor of us. The atheist label is something that we've all been brought under. But as you said earlier, and as there's people in the chat, we are a group of other people. You know, we're not all atheists here. And even atheism, that's only a question. You know, personally, I've had some spiritual experiences and things that I can't explain yet, is how I put it. But I know that there'll probably be a scientific reason to it. I'm open to this, that, and the other. And I go to you, you might have a different opinion. I ask Manda, completely different opinion. I ask Dave, he tells me my opinion's wrong. You know, we're all different.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why, you know, you feel the need to get on the internet and talk about this stuff, but for me, it's like I am interested in, I am interested in deconstructing kind of the systems that we have in place that does put Christianity on a pedestal, for example, that says that this is something that we can't talk about or we can't dismantle because of the power structures that have historically been in place because of it, and just the hierarchies it creates between us and people of color, for example, or us and people in the LGBT plus community. You know, like that's the differences in there are going to be enshrined through Christianity. And that's something that I want to take away. It's like, hey, you can't justify your bigotry towards these people just because you have a religious belief that says you can, you know, because this belief is based on this, and this is, you can demonstrate that this is wrong through this. And it's like, it's very complicated and it's very nuanced, and it does take some study to kind of look at this and to talk about this, because this isn't issues that most people are thinking about every day, but I am, because I'm a weirdo, I guess. I don't know. And I guess the other people, I guess I'm just surrounded by weirdos that are interested in this stuff.
No, so. We're all fucked up, man. We're all weirdos. But no, as I said to you earlier, just before the stream, and as I mentioned when we started, something short and sweet is, you know, and I reference this to people, I sort of steal it from The Matrix, you know. We all know what you've done. We all know what's actually happened. I want to get into the why. This is more why I do it. I'm more interested in what's going on. I don't really watch TV. I watch an awful lot of, you know, evolution, and I watch an awful lot of physics and things like that. And I like to learn, you know, learning that. I'm a fucking mechanic, self-taught mechanic, you know. I did a year in Queens in Northern Ireland for physics, maths, and advanced maths. And then my learning style is different, but I like to learn. I like to, and everything, when you ask the hard questions, it always boils down to fucking God and politics. It always, you know, if you're going to find out who somebody is, regardless of my interests, everybody's either interested in God or politics. You know, and these conversations, I find, have been polarized over this last while. I find that you're either this or you're that. There's no fucking middle ground. And I love to talk to people from all different whips and strays and all over the place. And it's to build bridges. It's to try and, you know, get to that other side and find that person and provide a platform that everybody can feel welcomed on. Quite recently, and I'm not saying this just because of fucking saying this, quite recently we had Speed of Sound of Gravity on the channel, whose daughter was murdered just over a month ago, and he reached out to me to have a conversation because he felt that the platform was good enough to talk about that. And you know, that meant an awful lot to me. He released a small video on his own channel that was only 7 minutes long, but he came here and he talked for a full hour back and forth, and he knew that nothing he could say would be disrespected. Everybody was respectful of him, and it was very cathartic to get it out. And to provide a platform and somewhere like that where we can all bring people together and everybody can feel safe, no matter where you're from. He's a Buddhist, you know, secular Buddhist. Sorry, secular Buddhist. You know, not an atheist, but he's secular, and he thinks logically. And I would definitely recommend anyone to watch that. I'm not going to steal anything from his words. He says it better than me, but you know, to provide that where everybody is welcome is amazing.
Yeah, I think so too. Actually, you know, I'm glad you talked about that, because that's an express reason why I wanted to create Truth Wanted in the first place, was to create a table that a lot of people could sit at and feel okay sitting at. You know, I love Atheist Experience, of course, but one thing is it's a show run by atheists, and it's predominantly for atheists. We do have Christians that watch it, but you know, most people that watch,
Matt doesn't take shit.
well, you know, Matt doesn't take shit, and a lot of the other hosts don't take shit, and you know, it has its purpose and it has its place. I tell you, I look at the emails and I see this stuff that people write about. Obviously, it does something for people, but it's not going to do something for everybody. Yeah. There are some people that are going to watch that and it's like, hey, I'm really turned off by that. I don't feel comfortable with this. And so if they are, then I could say, well, here's my show. You can come on down to Truth Wanted. Yeah, we don't get as many views as AXP, not yet, but you know, hey, like, we got some interesting folks here that you might be interested in talking to, or you know, at least watching, right? And I find that it has brought me to some interesting places and interesting conversations that I never in 1,000 years would have thought that could have had. Like 3 weeks ago, I talked to Aurelian, which is someone who's from a UFO cult, like a real honest believer from a UFO cult, decided to call into my show to talk about his beliefs. And it's like, I could have never. Tell me 5 years ago I was going to have a conversation with Aurelian for like 20 minutes. I would have thought you were crazy. Like, what context? Why would I care? But like, I get to do stuff like that just because, you know, there are people out there who do want to talk about their beliefs, but they don't feel like they can because the world just doesn't give them a place. And I'm glad I can give people a place.
One of my favorite conversations that I've had has not been on the channel. One of the most favoriteest conversations I've actually had, as any of the long-time viewers will know, I all my life wanted a Ford RS with a personalized plate. I've got an ST. I went and splashed in a personalized plate. My personal plate is 666 and then my initials. That starts conversations when you park that outside work.
I bet. Oh man.
You know.
Wow.
And it does. And one of them was a bin man, as people would know. Someone who comes and empties your fucking bins. And he recently had a loss in his life, and he went to the people in his church, and there was no real, he didn't get anything from it. The only thing that he got from it was the 3 or 4 people that actually made the effort outside of it to come to his house and go, are you okay? You know, I think it was his wife or his daughter. He was alone in the house. He went from having this best friend and nothing. It's very similar to Speed, you know, and it was the 3 or 4 people that made that extra effort. And they didn't go to, you know, it wasn't going to church together on a Sunday that did it. It was having the barbecues on a fucking Wednesday night. You know, and he did lean towards the spiritualism route and the deistic route and sort of that spiritual energy that's everywhere and all that sort of crack. But it's somewhere that I had been personally. And hopefully, given time, he may move on further than that. He was later in life, around, I think he was early 50s or something like that, so it may be more difficult for him. But, you know, it was a step along. It was a realization that it's not the fucking God that does it, it's the church that does it. It's the people, it's the community. And it's been
Amen to that.
It's been shown over and over and over again that it's the people that build it. It doesn't matter if you all worship. What did you say? That Inu, what was it? What were they? That crazy alien cult thing?
Oh, the Raelian. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, but there was a group of them. And it was the community of the one belief, the one community of getting people together. And it's that empowered them. And it's that what made them feel comfortable. We're social creatures. Everybody wants to feel happy in a group.
It's true. It's true. It's very, very true.
And it feels good to have people that understand you. It feels good to be open to people. It's fucking vulnerable, but it's it's amazing to have that connection with people, to have that group. And we all want to be part of it, regardless of what it is. Cars, computers, you know, we just need to bring people together. I don't know. I
agree. It's true. I mean, people wonder, what's the point of having an atheist community of Austin? That doesn't make sense. You guys don't believe in anything. You know, that's what people tell us, right? But truth is, we do believe in a lot of things. We believe in having conversations with people, and we believe that, you know, dismantling and deconstructing these ideas that we thought were true are valuable and has a purpose, not only in society, but also for ourselves. I wouldn't be the person that I am today if it wasn't for these conversations that I've had with people. And I can't tell you how powerful it is, because you know how powerful it is. And I'm sure a lot of the people who watch this know already. And if I'd love to give that to other people, you know, just that sense of not only can you feel safe talking about this, but also this may be one of the most important conversations you have in your life. I mean, really.
A personal, I've ran a few depots, and one of the depots I ran in, I'll not say where it is, and there was a guy that came in, and it was actually his son came in, and his son, we started talking back and forth, and I found out that he's an old earth creationist. You know, he'd never heard of the word fallacy before in his life. You know, he didn't know what these things were. And we had a conversation. I actually stayed a half hour after work. And then the next time somebody in the family needed something done, the father came in. And me and the father actually became quite, I wouldn't go so far as friends, but he would come in at least 2 or 3 times a month. Just to get stuff done, just to get this done or that done or whatever, or talk and have the crack. And it got to the point one time over abortion, you know, and things like that. And I had to go and apologize to other customers because we got very heated in the middle of the floor, not shouting at each other, but this, that, and the other, and back and forth. And some of my favoriteest times, even though that guy I completely disagree with, he went and protested when they made abortions legal in Northern Ireland. He was one of them people who stopped in to tell me he was on his way there, dropped off a freaking leaflet and everything. But it built a bridge. We built a friendship from that. You know, and there was a back and forth, and I got to know his wife, and I got to know the son and stuff like that. And, you know, as much as I disagree with them, there was a bridge built there. There was a connection built. Yeah.
Very, very cool. Yeah, I've definitely met a lot of interesting people doing this, both atheist and theist, I guess. And I hope to continue meeting more people. I don't
just say awesome name.
I was about to say atheist and non-theist, but then that didn't make sense. I meant to say theist. It was like just a trick of the words there, but
Freudian slip.
Yeah, Freudian slip.
Well, how long have we been going? Is there any questions from the chat? Has anybody anything they would like to ask myself or Dan or anything like that? And shout out to everybody that's turned up in the chat. You know, we've got all the regulars, and this wouldn't be worth anything if anybody didn't come and watch it. You know, we stream this live for everything that we've just said for the last 49 minutes. You know, it's about everybody getting involved. So everybody, thank you very much for coming and watching. So is there any questions for the chat while Dan tells everybody about how fantastic he is, what he's got coming up, new interviews coming, are you in any channels in the next couple of weeks or anything like that?
Any questions coming? Now, I will say, while we're waiting for those, you know, I like I said, working on Twitch stuff. I hope to get that up probably by this next week. As far as the video game stuff, I've been doing Twitch streams with some other YouTubers and stuff, just learning more and more about OBS. I got some cool stuff for Truth Wanted that I'm not allowed to announce yet because you know, it has you know, has not been officially released, but next Friday actually on Truth Wanted we'll be able to talk about just some fun stuff we're going to be doing with the show, since this year Christmas and New Year's are both going to be on Fridays, which is when we typically do Truth Wanted, of course. So we're going to do some fun stuff instead of a regular show on those days. And yeah, just keeping on, you know.
First, we have a couple of questions. Brilliant. GeoSam wants to say, oh, well, someone's asked, can we hand him a towel? The next one is GeoSam wants to say, let Dan know that it was me who called in about the burnt in hand.
Oh yeah, the burnt in hand. That was a weird call. I'm not gonna lie. Not that you're a weird person for calling in, but just like I don't know what to say about that call. You know, it's a weird situation, right? Like finding basically found a print of a burnt hand all over the place in this house that he was at, and that seemed to move from location to location over the years. It was kind of really bizarre, but it was one of those things where it's like,
well, as I said,
I can't.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just can't work more with anything that you just provided. You know, like it's one of those things where it's like I'm just hearing an anecdote from a phone call. You know, it's like this is like this is beyond
Geo is
what I can do.
Geo is that person, as I said, that put the computer together and sent it out to someone with a very small channel. So he may be weird, but he's still a decent enough guy.
No, never said he was weird.
Oh no,
Not
he's
my
weird.
word.
I know him. Geo's weird. Next question we have is from Ginger Nation. Has there ever been a really stupid question that you just had to smack your forehead when you heard them? Not apart from the alien one earlier.
I mean, I don't know about stupid questions. I definitely have heard arguments that didn't make a lot of sense to me. But I mean, is it bad to say there's too many to count? I mean, I've just heard a lot of stuff in the 2 years that I've been doing this. The only thing that comes to mind, well, I don't want to get into the weeds on that one. Let's see. You know, the COVID, like just COVID being, or I had a flat earther call in one time that didn't understand why, if the earth was moving, like we were, why weren't we moving? You know, like how come we weren't flying off the earth? I think was
really
basically
funny.
the argument.
People don't understand the fact that you don't notice you don't notice speed, you notice acceleration. That's the only thing that.
Yeah, exactly. And I just made the point of like, look, when you're in a car and you have a speedometer with another car, and you're going the same speed, that speedometer is going to say 0 because it's only getting it relative to your position. And I was like, do you accept that this is true? Like, do you accept that this is a fact of reality? And I just couldn't get it to accept even that point.
The car's good. I like to use a fly.
Yeah.
If there's a fly in the car, fly's just flying around. Do you think that fucking fly's doing 80 miles an hour? That fly's not doing 80 miles an hour. You know.
Right.
You don't feel speed. You feel acceleration.
Acceleration. Yeah.
A question from Critical Cripple. Love you, Dave. Does Dan think the movement towards secularism is stronger than the movement towards that's too big for me. Fundamentalism in the US?
You know, the statistics that I read give kind of a mixed answer, because while I do think the US overall is becoming more secular, that may not be as good news as we might think, because secular, of course, doesn't mean atheist. Secular doesn't mean critical thinker. Secular just means secular. And, you know, here in Austin, oh my God, I mean, you can find vet clinics that do chiropractic, I'm pretty sure. Like, you can find like all kinds of just bizarre, just nonsense, and you don't have to be a Christian to believe in some of the stuff that I see around here. So I don't know if the coming to secular, you know, as becoming more secular as a nation is going to give us the immediate benefits that we all would hope. But is fundamentalism declining? I think so. I think in the US at least, but not worldwide. I think we're still seeing people, you know, adopting these Christian traditions and beliefs in particularly developing countries, which is sad and scary. And also, you know, there is a difference between the average secular person in terms of output of children versus the average fundamentalist person, and that's something that we can capture through statistics as well. And I don't know if that's going to have as much of an effect. We'll have to see. But
no, everybody's different. I personally witnessed something, to give a slight anecdotal one, and again to shout out for Carlton Wilson. Definitely everybody should go and watch his MathPig review the other night. We were sitting in it and they were discussing, it got to the point of dinosaurs in the Bible, and the cedar tree swings, and you know, it's an elephant, and BRAINBUG, you were there. You know, there was like 4 or 5 of us watching, and I think every single person had a different interpretation of what I put in the chat, scripture. It was fucking hilarious, because it was a bunch of atheists all arguing over the interpretation of the scripture, just like the Christians do. And it didn't matter that whether we believed in God or not. That actual question had nothing to do with what we were talking about. What we were talking about was reading the Bible and interpreting it different. We were no fucking different than a bunch of Christians. I thought it was fucking hilarious.
Yeah. Well, the difference is you may not be, you know, promoting systems of patriarchy or misogyny or anything else.
Yeah,
so.
well, but specifically on that, you know.
But you were still fighting over the Bible. Yeah, absolutely.
It was a group of people fighting over the Bible, and it was funny because we're all interested in it, regardless of what our political views or our beliefs are. But we were all just. I just found it funny. I just thought it was funny. Like, right. Well, other than telling Dave I absolutely love the bones of that man, I kick his ass, all in one sentence. shout out from Amanda as well, who helped build this channel. Shout out to everybody that watched, and yes, I'm left the Patreons to the end, the people that actually put money in. Thank you very much. Shout out to Dan. His YouTube channel is in the description. I will add the Twitch, but it's just twitch.tv, Objectively Dan.
Yes, twitch.tv/Objectively Dan, and on Twitter at Objectively Dan as well.
Objectively Dan everywhere.
Everywhere. And YouTube too. There's a YouTube channel with my name on it. I don't do much with it, but you can subscribe if you want.
Objectively Dan on YouTube as well. There you go.
Yeah.
So everybody, thank you very much for coming back. We have Cadence next week. Cadence is literally in the chat biting Dave. Cadence is we're calling it Cadence's Curiosity Stream. She is into fossils and all this cool stuff. She recently went into a bog, I think it was, and scooped up a big jar, you know, and sealed it so it's their own wee thing. Plus they drive a Ford F-250 and have 2 Honda Civics VTEC as well. Cadence is very cool. So we're going to have a clean stream, and then Cadence also owns cages, so we're going to have a fun stream after party. So check that out next week. That will be fun. Something personally I'm very much looking forward to is Parallax Nick. If anybody hasn't seen Parallax Nick, I've been following him since the Non Sequitur days when he did an interview on there. He's big into his astrophysics, big into his space. The guy goes into so much detail. I think one time I watched a stream where he explained what the guy had for breakfast and then got up and did this science thing. You know, he goes into so much detail. So that's personally something I'm looking forward to on the 20th. And other than that, everybody, thank you very much for coming. And yeah, we will oink and we will out if I remember to hit the button.